Hello everyone and welcome once again to GSTEF TV, the home of unfiltered Nollywood conversations, moments that refuse to stay hidden, and stories that keep the internet awake long after midnight. Before we go deep into today's explosive and controversial gist, do not forget to subscribe to GSTEF TV, turn on your notifications, and stay connected because what you're about to hear is already shaking timelines, fan pages, and private group chats across the industry. Now let us talk about the scene that has refused to die. What was supposed to be just another romantic moment in a Nollywood production has transformed into one of the most talked about, argued over, and emotionally charged conversations online. Maurice, Sam, and Pearl Watts, two actors already known for intense screen presence, delivered a scene that many viewers insist went beyond performance and stepped into something far more personal. From the very first clip that surfaced, the reaction was instant. Fans paused, replayed, zoomed in, slowed down the footage, and began asking questions that refused to be ignored. This did not look rehearsed to them. This did not look calculated. This looked uncomfortably real. According to whispers from the set, the scene was originally meant to be brief, intimate but controlled, emotional but safe. Yet as filming progressed, something shifted. The dialogue reportedly flowed differently. Pauses stretched longer than scripted. The physical closeness lingered. The kiss, which should have ended with a clean cut, continued just long enough to make people on set uneasy. Insiders claim the director hesitated, watching closely, weighing whether to interrupt or allow the moment to breathe. When the word cut finally came, the silence that followed was described as heavy, almost awkward, like everyone present had just witnessed something they were not sure they were meant to see. Crew members allegedly exchanged looks. Some looked impressed, others looked confused. A few reportedly avoided eye contact entirely. It was that kind of moment where nobody laughs, nobody speaks immediately, and nobody knows whether to clap or stay quiet. The energy, according to those who claim to have been there, shifted completely. It was no longer just about a job well done. It felt like a line had been brushed, if not crossed. Once the clips hit the internet, all restraints disappeared. Fans erupted. Some praised Maurice Sam for what they described as fearless commitment to his craft, insisting that this is exactly what separates average actors from unforgettable ones. Others applauded Pearl Watts, calling her performance raw, vulnerable, and emotionally naked in a way Nollywood rarely dares to show. Supporters argued that great acting is supposed to make people uncomfortable, that it is meant to blur the line between fiction and reality, and that what viewers witnessed was simply two professionals trusting each other enough to go all in. But not everyone saw it that way. Another group of fans reacted with concern, discomfort, and outright criticism. They questioned boundaries, asking whether there are limits that should never be crossed even in the name of art. Some wondered if both actors were truly comfortable or if the intensity took on a life of its own in the moment. Asked why the director did not step in sooner, suggesting that allowing the scene to run that long may have been irresponsible. Full stop. The word professionalism began appearing repeatedly in comment sections, sometimes as praise, sometimes as accusation. Social media became a battlefield. One fan wrote that watching the scene felt like intruding on something private, like the camera had accidentally captured a real emotion that was never meant for public consumption. Another insisted the discomfort people felt was proof of its brilliance, arguing that art is not supposed to be safe or tidy. As the scene continued to dominate conversations, what became impossible to ignore was how deeply it affected viewers on an emotional level. This was no longer just about Maurice Sam and Pearl Watts as individuals, but about what their performance represented to an audience that felt seen, unsettled, and strangely connected all at once. Many fans admitted they could not stop thinking about the moment, replaying it in their minds long after watching, trying to pinpoint exactly where acting ended and something else began. That lingering effect, some argued, was proof of its power. Several viewers described feeling conflicted. They admired the bravery it took to deliver such intensity, yet felt uneasy about how exposed the moment seemed. Some fans confessed that watching the scene made them hold their breath, not because it was romantic in the traditional sense, but because it felt fragile, like witnessing an emotion that could easily break if touched too much. Others said the discomfort was precisely why it mattered, insisting that Nollywood has long needed performances that challenge emotional comfort zones rather than recycle predictable romance. The conversation soon expanded beyond the actors themselves and into broader industry questions. Fans began debating how intimacy is handled on Nollywood sets and whether enough structure exists to protect performers when scenes demand emotional vulnerability. Some insisted that moments like this require clearer boundaries and communication, while others argued that too much control risks sterilizing performances that should feel alive. In the middle of it all, Maurice, Sam, and Pearl Watts became symbols of a larger tension between realism and restraint. What intensified the intrigue was how neither actor appeared eager to capitalize on the controversy. There were no dramatic interviews, no social media explanations, no attempts to guide the narrative. This restraint only deepened curiosity. Fans wondered if they were processing the moment privately, or if silence was simply the most dignified response to a situation already overexposed. The lack of response created space for imagination to run wild, allowing supporters and critics alike to project their own interpretations onto the actor's quietness. As days turned into weeks, the scene began to acquire a kind of legend status. New viewers discovered it for the first time and reacted as intensely as those who had seen it earlier. Each new reaction reignited the debate, proving that the moment had not lost its impact. It had become timeless in a strange way, continuing to provoke strong feelings, regardless of when it was watched. That enduring effect suggested that something rare had occurred, something that could not be easily dismissed as hype. In many ways, the scene forced audiences to confront their own expectations. People asked themselves what they truly wanted from actors and from stories. Did they want safety and familiarity, or honesty even when it felt unsettling? The answers varied, but the question itself marked a shift. Nollywood viewers were no longer passive consumers. They were critically engaging, emotionally invested, and unafraid to demand more depth from the stories placed before them.